Democrat Sinema has now taken a very small lead as early ballots are now being counted. And here's a look at the latest numbers. Sinema has 932,000 votes. Republican Martha McSally has a little more than 923,000 votes. Hundreds of thousands of votes still need to be counted. Political editor Dennis Welch joining us here in the studio tonight. And Dennis, what does all of this mean going forward?
Well, I can tell you right now what it means is that we are days away from wrapping up this election. There's still roughly 345,000 ballots left to be counted in Maricopa County alone. County election officials there were still working after the close of business today. County Recorder Adrian Fontes says they can count up to about 75,000 ballots a day at max. He's taken a lot of heat because the count is still not finished. Fontes blames old equipment for the slow pace. Now, I spoke with him earlier this evening and asked him how long will voters have to wait for the final results to come in.
Well, we've got a system here that allows us to put out about 75,000 votes a day. It's really a very robust, dependable system, but it's also very old and made for a smaller jurisdiction. So we get through it. Traditionally, we do about 50,000 a day in past cycles. Now we're going to try to push it up. So once we start getting those numbers cranking out there, you know, it'll take a little bit of time, but we're going to get it done right.
I can tell you, that you do the math here, 345,000 ballots, at max 75,000 ballots they can count every day. The earliest is Monday or Tuesday next week before they finish up counting.
Well, I have so many questions for you. We could do a full-hour show with
Sure.
the Q&A just
Sure.
about this race with you. I'll try and ask what I think is one of the more important ones. Of the 345,000 outstanding ballots that still have yet to be counted, do we know where those 345,000 votes are coming from? Are they coming from Metro Phoenix area? Are they coming down from Pima County?
They are coming from all over the place. I believe once they're in there, it's hard to know what batches of ballots they are counting. During election night, you can tell which precincts are reporting how busy those precincts were, where there's a lot of votes. I can tell you start looking down ballot where some of the races have changed. You've seen some pretty big races in legislative districts out in the East Valley and East Phoenix. So maybe they're coming from that area right now. So, but actually, obviously, this having an effect on not just the Senate race, but a lot of other races as well.
You mentioned a correlation earlier where you said that in the very beginning, Sinema took an early lead. So this swing that we're seeing now, not quite surprising. Can you explain why?
Well, yeah, going into the night, McSally had a 17,000 vote margin. Now she's down by about 9,000. That's a huge 26,000 vote swing. Now, the Sinema folks were pretty confident early on that when these votes started to be counted, that they would see some pickups, because if you looked at the election night results, Sinema was losing statewide, but she was winning in the big counties. Pima, Maricopa County, that's where all the votes are in the state. That's where the big majority of the votes that are left to be counted are currently located. So their theory is holding tonight. And tonight only. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the days to come. A lot of votes still left to be counted. It's
interesting because as a political junkie that I am myself, when I'm watching other races from around the country, typically they're able to look at a map and say, we've got this many votes of an outstanding votes in this county. This county typically leans Republican, so likely the Republican will just continue to grow. But I feel here it's kind of like, we got a batch from this city, a batch from that polling place. It's sporadic from all over the state.
Yeah, and the good news for Sinema is it does appear, I mean, Maricopa County is a red Republican county.
Right.
Good news for Sinema is, again, we were talking about this beforehand. If you look at the top of the ticket, the governor's race, Governor leads his statewide race by 300,000 votes. So you know that there were a lot of voters out there that voted Republican for the governor's office and then crossed over. Yeah, not for McSally.
My goodness, and it'll be fascinating as the weeks go on, and eventually when we do, we can all play Monday morning quarterback.
I know, you can analyze the heck out of this right now, right?
And kind of figure out, why is that? Why did was it to send a message to Washington because people still wanted a balance of power, yet they're happy with the economy here and the way?
Was it the candidate that the
Dems
put
Garcia?
Up for governor?
Absolutely,
I mean, that might
so
have
many
also
factors.
been a major factor.
Yeah, and again though, you can't start talking about this like it's over.
Right? I know.
There's still a lot of votes out there to be counted.
100%.
This thing could be up and down for the next several days if there's a potential recount, which happens at 1/2 of 1% or 200 votes.
Just don't compare us to Florida. Nobody compare us to Florida.
We don't have a time limit then on when these are supposed to be done. There's no official deadline. Okay.
No.
I know there's a lawsuit pending and that kind of thing. So
and Adrian Fontes will be up for election in 2 years too. So the voters will get the final word on this as well.
All right, Dennis, as always, thank you very much, my friend.